Today I'm ranking 10 great 90s movies that most people somehow missed. One of these movies got an Oscar nomination and still vanished. Another launched Peter Dinklage's career, and one of them might be the best performance Robin Williams ever gave. Steven Zaillian had never directed a movie before. He was a screenwriter, he'd just finished Schindler's List. But he found this true story about a chess prodigy named Josh Waitzkin and decided that was going to be his first film. The whole thing hinges on finding the right kid to play Josh, and Zaillian finds Max Pomeranz, who delivers one of those child performances that shouldn't be possible. Max wasn't really acting. When they made the film, he was ranked in the top 20 chess players in the country for his age. So when you see him playing chess, he's not faking it. He knows exactly what he's doing. After this movie, Max did a couple more films and then just stopped acting. The cast around him is perfect. Lawrence Fishburne shows up as a chess hustler who befriends Josh and teaches him speed chess. And Ben Kingsley plays the strict, hard-nosed chess instructor who's trying to turn the kid into a champion. In 2006, American Film Institute ranked it on their list of most inspiring films of all time. Put it above Chariots of Fire and The Karate Kid, and I'd bet most people have never seen it. Robin Williams was always loud and funny. That was his whole career. Then Penny Marshall cast him as a shy neurologist and told him to turn all of that off. Williams is trying to wake up patients who've been catatonic since the 1920s. Robert De Niro plays one of them. When the treatment works and De Niro comes back after decades of being frozen, it's nothing like any other De Niro performance. He's vulnerable and terrified, and it works. Marshall had made big and would go on to make A League of Their Own. Comedy was her thing, but Awakenings doesn't have jokes. It's just a sad story about people briefly coming back to life, knowing it won't last. Most of the supporting cast came from comedy too. Julie Kavner, who voices Marge Simpson, plays a nurse. John Hurd plays the hospital administrator. Everyone's doing dramatic work. The film got a Best Picture nomination, then everyone forgot about it. Albert Brooks made a movie where you die and go to a resort town called Judgment City. You can eat as much as you want without consequences. There are hotels and restaurants and trams, and you have to defend your entire life in court to prove you weren't controlled by fear. Only Brooks could come up with this. The afterlife is a bureaucratic process where lawyers review your worst moments and you have to explain why you made the choices you made. Brooks stars opposite Meryl Streep, who's playing someone who lived fearlessly and is sailing through her judgment. Meanwhile, Brooks is getting destroyed by every anxious, second-guessing decision he ever made. The thing is, most of his choices were reasonable. He just never believed in himself. And the film finds something both funny and kind of heartbreaking in that. 4 kids steal a hot dog cart. It's a stupid prank, the kind of thing kids do without thinking it through. Except the cart gets away from them and someone gets seriously injured. The kids get sent to a juvenile detention center to pay for what they did. The guards at this place are abusing them and nobody knows about it. Years later, when these kids are grown up, they decide to do something about it. Barry Levinson directed this thing and somehow got Brad Pitt, Kevin Bacon, Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro, and Billy Crudup in his first film role all in the same movie. That's an insane cast for 1996. With that lineup, you'd expect Oscar nominations across the board, but the film only got 1 for John Williams' score. No acting nominations despite having 6 major actors. No Best Picture, nothing else. And the weird thing is, the very next year, Levinson made Wag the Dog with Hoffman and De Niro again, and that time Hoffman got a Best Actor nomination. So clearly, the Academy didn't have a problem with these people. They just didn't care about sleepers. The movie just got buried somehow. So here's a crazy stat. Between the Joy Luck Club in 1993 and Crazy Rich Asians in 2018, there was a 25-year gap where Hollywood didn't release a single major studio film with a Chinese cast in the lead roles. The Joy Luck Club was based on Amy Tan's book, a really well-made movie about complicated family relationships. It follows 4 Chinese mothers and their American-born daughters, and it jumps between their lives in China and their lives in San Francisco. It's one of those movies where the structure could have been a disaster. 8 main characters, constantly jumping timelines, heavy emotional stuff in every storyline. But Wong keeps it clear and lets the actresses carry it. The performances are what make it work. Billy Bob Thornton had made a short film in 1994 about a mentally disabled man getting out of a psychiatric hospital. 2 years later, he turned it into a feature, wrote the script, directed it, and starred in it. He got John Ritter to play completely against type, no comedy, just a straight dramatic role. Brought in Robert Duvall and J.T. Walsh, made the whole thing for $1 million. Then Miramax saw it and paid $10 million to buy it. That set a record for indie films at the time. Thornton plays this guy who's been institutionalized since he was a kid for killing his mother and her boyfriend. He gets released and befriends this boy who's dealing with an abusive stepfather. It's slow and uncomfortable, and this is basically the kind of movie that would be super problematic today. But Thornton's performance is incredible. He completely disappears into his character. He got nominated for Best Actor and won for Best Screenplay. Peter Dinklage's first movie was this tiny indie comedy that came out in 1995 and completely disappeared. He'd only done theater before that. This was years before Game of Thrones. The movie starred Steve Buscemi as a filmmaker trying to shoot an indie film while everything collapses around him. He had just done Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, so people were starting to recognize him, but he took this tiny role in this tiny movie about the absolute chaos of low-budget filmmaking. What's fun about it is how accurate it apparently is. Every nightmare scenario you can imagine on a film set happens in this movie. Equipment fails, actors can't remember their lines, egos explode, technical disasters pile up, and Buscemi's character is just desperately trying to hold it all together. If you want to see what making a movie with no money actually looks like, this is it. But good luck finding anyone who's heard of it. Christopher Guest co-wrote This Is Spinal Tap back in 1984. That movie created the mockumentary format. 12 years later, he's directing his own. Waiting for Guffman follows this community theater group in Missouri putting on a musical about their town's history. Guest plays the director, this guy named Corky St. Clair who's completely over the top about the whole thing. Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Fred Willard, Parker Posey are all in it. The group rehearses this musical and convinces themselves a Broadway producer is going to show up and discover them. That's the whole plot. They're taking it incredibly seriously, thinking this is their big break. Guest made Best in Show and A Mighty Wind later with most of the same actors, and those got more attention. But Guffman was where he started, and almost nobody's seen it. Game shows don't work in movies. There's maybe one exception to that rule, and it's Quiz Show. Robert Redford directed it. This was after he'd already won an Oscar for directing Ordinary People back in 1980. The movie's about the 21 scandal from the 1950s, where the whole thing was rigged. Ralph Fiennes plays a college instructor who gets on the show. John Turturro plays a contestant who's on a winning streak, and then the producers pressure him to lose when Fiennes shows up because they want the handsome guy to be the star. David Paymer and Hank Azaria play the producers who are orchestrating the whole scam, and there's some great cameos. Barry Levinson and Martin Scorsese both show up on screen, and a very young Ethan Hawke. It's a great film, got some Oscar nominations, and then just kind of faded away. William Friedkin made The French Connection and The Exorcist, then in 1994 directed a movie about college basketball recruiting that nobody saw. The whole thing is about how schools illegally pay top players to come play for them, and the pressure that puts on everyone involved. Nick Nolte plays the coach, and this might be his most underrated performance. He's always good, but in this movie he's on fire. There's this speech he gives that's one of the great sports movie speeches. And the whole time you just can't take your eyes off him because he's so intense. And to make it feel authentic, they got actual basketball people to appear in it. There's Larry Bird, Bobby Knight, and Dick Vitale.